are you? Today we're going to read an excerpt from the poem Affliction in Basic Land from my book, The Portuguese Book. It's a hilarious and completely true story that I personally experienced for myself in Basic Land. The only time I ever passed through there, traveling quite rapidly by bus, or autocarro, as they commonly refer to it over in Portugal, was back in 1988. I remember when I traveled across the ocean to Europe for the very first time in my life. My primary goal was to enroll as a student at a prestigious university located in Germany, specifically within the historic and beautiful city of Münster, where I dedicated myself to my academic studies and research. Latin, Greek, and philosophy. I spent 3 semesters there, then I couldn't take it anymore and came back. At first, when I went there on my trip, the intention was to stay, to finish the course until the end, to dedicate myself to my literary activities. I had already graduated here in Brazil in medicine, specialized in ophthalmology, but even so, I went over there. A kind of madness that some people have. Well, a colleague, a friend of mine here in Brazil, who worked at the Prelature of São Félix do Araguaia with Dom Pedro Casaldaliga, he had contacts in Madrid. He was from Minas, his name was Milton, he wasn't a priest, he worked there as a volunteer. He worked at the Pastoral Land Commission, I think, with land settlers. Well, he gave me contacts there in Madrid, and when I arrived, I was very well received by these contacts, whom I will talk more about later. They were important people during this phase of my life, on this somewhat crazy trip I took to Europe. At that time, we used to buy plane tickets to Europe. If you bought a ticket to Lisbon or Madrid, it was cheaper than buying one to Frankfurt. So that's what I did. I bought a ticket to Madrid with the intention of traveling by bus from Madrid to Germany to Münster. And I had no professional experience at all outside of Brazil. And everyone knows that in Brazil, we simply don't have any passenger trains. Everyone who travels across the country by land does so almost exclusively by bus. And I think that's why buses have a certain level of comfort. There are buses of all prices and all levels of comfort. There are sleeper buses, there are buses where the seat turns into a bed, there are semi-sleeper buses, but all of them, almost without exception, have a bathroom inside the bus. Or, as they say in Portugal, a casa de baños inside the bus. Well, I got on the bus in Madrid in the evening, and when it was early morning, around 5:30 or 6 o'clock, I don't really know, I woke up to the bus driver shouting, "Everyone has to get off, everyone get off, get off, get off." And I looked out the bus window and saw that crowd of buses in a square. And all the luggage, the suitcases, were already on the ground, lined up. And because of that, I was completely forced to get off at the next stop. It turns out that, since it was early in the morning, it was usually my time to go to the bathroom. When I'm at home, I go. When I get up, when I wake up. And unfortunately, I felt the urge to go to the bathroom at that moment. I was getting off the bus. It seems that there, in the city of Irún, in the Basque Country, all the buses coming from Portugal and from all regions of Spain make a transfer. They all meet there and then split up, each heading to its own destination, whether in Germany, France, or Switzerland. Well, I'll read now the part of the poem I wrote based on that situation. Because since there was no bathroom on the bus, I had to go out into the square at dawn in search of a bathroom. So I will read. Distress in the Basque Land. Suddenly the bus stopped. The driver said, "Everyone off, everyone off." Still half asleep, I looked out the window. There were dozens of other buses stopped and hundreds of pieces of luggage already on the ground lined up, including my enormous suitcase. I really had a huge suitcase. I wanted to take my whole life from Brazil to my new life there in Germany. Everyone had to switch buses. It was the square of a city. I found out it was called Irún. Much later, I learned that it was Basque Country. It was dawn, maybe 6 in the morning. You could see the shadows of people walking in the distance through the mist. I got off the coach, or as I preferred, the bus. All of a sudden, and without any warning, my churning belly and my incredibly ungrateful guts decided we were getting out of bed at home right this very second, and they urgently demanded that we go to a public bathhouse, or find a private bathroom immediately. "Calm down," I said. "Just hold on, please, not now." They didn't listen to me. I looked around in desperation. What seemed to be a small bus station was closed. I saw a sign with an arrow pointing in one direction. Bathhouse. I ran, holding myself, anguished, and bumped into the door. There was a little sign that said closed. Cerrado means closed in Spanish. Complete distress. I looked around for help. But I'll leave it to you to find out the outcome of this distress and the end of this poem when you read it in the book. If you're in Brazil or Portugal, it's in the Portuguese edition. And it's also been translated into Basque in the book Antologia, and into Spanish and Catalan as well. Right over there, you will finally see the dramatic end of this story. And you'll also see the people of the Basque Country, because at the end of this story, I say that I would like to kiss the ground of the Basque Country. You'll find out whether it was just flattery or if there's another reason. I'll talk about that in another video. Thank you.